for my apparel. It is a wee bit chilly in jolly old England today, and it being a Sunday afternoon, it seems like the perfect time to cuddle up on the couch or in bed with some nice soup. So, we're going to make sweet potato soup today. In total, this takes about an hour, and you may be thinking, ain't nobody got time for that, but actually the majority of this hour is taken up waiting for sweet potatoes to boil on the stove. And boiling potatoes that are cooking, kind of like a sleeping baby. They may murmur and gurgle a little bit, but they don't really need to be paid any attention to until they really start screaming. So we're going to let those just boil away. I put those on a while ago. And we're going to turn to starting the seasoning once those are going. I have put, I think, 8 potatoes in because I'm making a very big batch. It lasts a long time. I eat loads of it. All of the boys next door eat loads of it, whatever. You can do it with as many as free, you just gotta kind of do the ratios together. So, for the base and seasoning, I like to mush onion to an absolute pulp. As you can see, you can also mince or just chop into large chunks if you like onion a lot and you like actually having the onion texture in your soup. I'm really using these onions primarily as a way to start cooking spices while the potatoes are cooking that are then just going to get plopped into the pan with the mashed potatoes and some water and or milk. And then all of the spicing has already gone on. So, you're going to grab a large pan, dump, this is 3 onions. It's 3 onions mostly because that's how many onions were in my thingy-bob. Cupboard, that's the word. But it can be as many or as few onions as you like. It really, this is one of those things that I definitely have just made up as I go and have never, like, I don't think I really got this from any original recipe even and then refused to measure. I think I just totally made this one up. So it's very, very flexible. Also, soups are kind of wonderful because, you put everything in a pot and if it doesn't taste good while you're stirring, you just put more stuff in until it does taste good. It's really, really hard to permanently screw up a soup. Also, they're water-based, so, if you screw one pot up, it's really okay. I think Audrey's going to join us, maybe. That's okay. You're not in the picture too much. Poor Audrey. I really should have some kind of, recording going on warning. Oh, well. Okay, so, I have 3 mushed onions in here. And we're going to cook them in olive oil. This happens to be white truffle oil because Kevin's wonderful aunt sent me some. So I might as well use the good stuff in this. You can use any kind of oil. It really is not going to matter much at all. And you don't need much, especially if you have really minced up onions because they have plenty of juice in and of themselves. So threw some oil there as a base. And then whatever seasonings you like. Things that go really well with sweet potatoes. Rosemary, cinnamon, chili. So, I'm going to throw in some Thai red curry paste just because I'm kind of fighting a cold and curry is good. If I can open the jar. There we go. So, just a dash because we don't want it. Yeah, okay, here's the one thing. Start with very little seasonings. Remember, you can always put more in. And technically with a soup, you can kind of take it out and that you can script the ratio and just add more water. But for the most part, just go really easy on the spices, like, half a teaspoon at the get-go, and then add as you go. Throw a little bit of rosemary in. I like rosemary, adding a little more than a little. Throwing some cinnamon in. I also have some nutmeg, so why not? Usually I would put chili powder in, I'm not going to since I did the red curry paste. And then I'm also going to add some chicken stock cubes, just to help make the broth a little saltier. But at the end of this is not going to be like a liquidy soup with chunks at all. This is going to be completely uniform texture, mush of potato yumminess. It's really much tastier than that description made it sound. You can also, of course, use vegetable stock. I wouldn't suggest beef stock in this just because I don't think it would go very well, but I guess to each her own. Do what you will. And if you use a bunch of spices and you're happy with your spice selection and comfortable with those, you don't need to use stock at all if you don't want to. So we're gonna let that mix together well and just keep kind of browning as we go. Oh, and I have a couple chunks of onion in there that weren't actually mushed up. Excellent. That's totally fine. It doesn't matter because they will cook in together, and some lucky person in their bowl is going to have some actual onion-like items. Just fine. I'm also going to check on the potatoes. Be careful. These may boil over depending on how much water you put in. Basically, once you can stick a fork all the way through without any resistance, they're done. So magically, they're done. I didn't practice this timing, so I'm actually quite impressed with that. All this is a pot of boiling water and potatoes in their skins. Don't do anything to them. Just throw them in hot water, let them go for about 30 minutes. And then when you can stick the fork all the way through, take them off the heat, drain, rinse in like freakishly cold water, preferably, and then they'll slip right out of their skins. And we are going to put them, along with our delightful oniony mash thing, in a large pan and mush it all together. So I will be back shortly. And I may or may not continue to try and yell at you. This is less than exciting for you, I'm sure. Sorry, whatever. You all have. Go check Facebook quickly while I'm draining potatoes. Oh look, potatoes drained. But actually not, I just have an empty pot because the potatoes are still in the sink. So, freakishly cold water. I highly suggest rinsing them in cold water for longer than I just did. I'm probably going to burn myself in an effort to not bore you too much. So here we go. You can see steam emerging from the potatoes. Huh. Yeah, they're hot. So the skin will slip off really easily. We're going to see if I can do this without killing myself. Usually I would just cook them, well not cook, rinse them longer, and then they'd be nice and cold. Rinsing them isn't just to not burn you, it also will help the skins peel off. So like you can get them in one go. Ha, ta-da, see? And it's so hot, you can probably hear that sizzling. So yeah, skin all of the potatoes, put them in the pot, turn on some heat. At this point, you want to turn the heat to kind of medium-low. Oh, mama, this is really warm. Don't actually drop them in skins in there. Huh. Keep doing that. At the same time, make sure that your onion is totally burning like crazy. And you want all of the spices nicely mixed in. Once they look pretty happy, and again, the onions you can caramelize or just mix together or really whatever because they're going into this pot and getting cooked more. So the state of these onions matters pretty little. I generally start them sooner because I get antsy about how long it's taking my potatoes to cook and caramelize them pretty well. But it really matters not. And so we're putting just whole potatoes in right now. We're then going to take a large spoon and or fork and or other cooking implement and mash them. Okay, so you want like fully mashed potatoes like you would for Thanksgiving if you're an American. At this point you can take a food processor or beater to it if you want, depending on how many potatoes you have and how much time you have and also how creamy versus chunky you want your soup. Right, so if you like, my goodness, if you like eating bits of potato like this, just take a fork to it. If you want a really creamy soup, go ahead and get a blender in there and go crazy. I am, since these potatoes are going crazy, going to add some oil to this pan as well, just because we're sizzling very happily along in there. Yeah, that's the other reason for the onion mash. Usually I would put it in this pot before I put the potatoes in, and then there would be no burning to do. So, I also suggest turning on the right burner. Part of the reason my onions aren't cooking is because I have the front burner on instead of the back one. Funny. So I'm going to go ahead and just put those in now. As you can see, I practice a lot for these, and these are highly, highly scripted episodes. Okay, so onion mush is in there with our spices. I'm now just going crazy with my cooking implement, mushing together the onion mixture and the potatoes, and squishing the potatoes up nicely. And at this point, it kind of looks like really, really thick, chunky mashed potatoes that are orange, right? But we're going for a soup. So to get that, we're going to add milk or water or dried skim milk plus water to it. The ratio of milk and water to the potatoes. You're asking the wrong girl. Depends on how thick you like your soups. Really, because let's say 2 cups of water to 1 potato. Start with that and see what you like. That was probably a very unsatisfactory answer. I'm sorry. I warned you. I don't really do recipes or measurement. As you can see, I just dumped the onion thing in there instead of actually whatever. And then we're just going to keep mushing and mashing. And you can leave this on the heat for as long as you want. So you can put it on really low and start it at noon for dinner time and just keep stirring it occasionally so the bottom doesn't burn. Kind of the more you cook, the more all of the spices will mingle together. If you have regular, like just a full cinnamon stick, put that in the pot by all means, or bay leaves, and just let those go to town. And yeah, to serve, once it's done, I put on boursin and cilantro or coriander and these lovely candied pecans in red curry, which are just lightly toasted on a pan. And I'll write up separate instructions for those in the about thing. I'm kind of running out of time because YouTube videos that are longer than 10 minutes take like 5 hours to upload. So I guess just look at the instructions for more and for the final look of things. And hopefully that will work. Anyway, delicious, relatively easy so long as, you know, you don't do things in the wrong order. And you can make just a huge pot in one go. You have lunch and dinner for the next 3 days. It's super delicious.